Hello, welcome to CoKo Plays. Today I got Townscaper for you, with coffee of course. Now my coffee cup is filled so high to the brim that I gotta be real careful not to burn myself. I made like a little bit extra and I didn't want to waste it. Also, coffee is delicious. And I thought, rather than doing the sensible thing, like getting up and refilling a little bit, I'll just fill it to the brim. All right. So I had done Townscaper as like a bonus game on my last Wingspan stream. It was just a nice, relaxing, builder. And I haven't actually touched it since then. Not that that's any kind of a guarantee. Like maybe if maybe I'll build a little bit off stream from time to time, because a game like this, it doesn't really matter all that much. But last time what we had done was to create this like open market area that's partially covered, along with some complementary stuff like this stuff along the tower, which I was kind of intentionally keeping lower to let this thing stand out, almost as if it would be like a town center thing. But all of these decisions or thoughts don't have to actually be what they're going to be, which doesn't exactly resemble like a real city, but we're simulating the process of like organic growth. So one of the thoughts I had was, if this is like I don't know, let's say like a Venice type city, or we could make it like a Micronesia thing, archipelago thing, where we have like these little areas of dense canal housing, and then we build like connectors to other little islands, quote unquote islands, of like little dense housing. And maybe this one wouldn't even remain like the town center at that point. Who knows? So, thoughts I have of like this being like, when I made this like the white housing adjacent to this tower, I was like, oh, that could be like a city hall or administrative buildings or something. It doesn't have to actually become that. And so the end of it will get like kind of something that'll feel like an organically developed city, as many older, dense cities feel, because they've been like continuously repurposed and rebuilt and expanded both within itself and to spread out more. But whereas like a lot of times, there's a continuity of purpose to some things, whether they like it or not. Like they have to maintain like some historic center. This isn't always the case, of course. There's plenty of cities that have had their historic centers, either destroyed from external sources or through internal means, one way or another, or have decided that it wasn't important enough to preserve them and just rebuild them as 20th century brutalist concrete things, taking over who even knows what was there before. So there's lots of ways towns organically grow. So we're not trying to like emulate all of them. We're just trying to get the vibe of something that feels like it's been developed over hundreds of years, with things like replacing other things and repurposing things and expanding and connecting, disconnecting. So last time we had created these little two paths to say, okay, we could continue to extend it that way. But there's other places to extend, so I don't have to go that direction. Let me see what kind of feels like a part of the city I want to expand. I think this stuff here is what I did first. I honestly don't even remember anymore. Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe here, maybe what we do is we create another little island. And like this is a nice also like outdoor larger area than I normally do. So this could be like a little gathering place too. So maybe it could be like a logical point of a connection. I don't think we could do like bridges in this game, as far as I know. But you know, we could simulate the vibe. So let's see. Have it come off like right here. We should leave a little more room because whatever we build will expand on its own too. Looks like it's kind of, we're getting some natural curvature to this too, which actually works out nicely. Yeah, because it's not exactly a bridge, it feels like overkill for this to be two squares wide the whole way. Like, I don't like the way it looks. Maybe it could be one square wide, but have like a little, yeah, like little stuff like that. I kind of dig that. Maybe put that on the other side. There we go. That's cool. Alright, so we want to leave some of this open as water to visually sell the distinction between this neighborhood and the one that we're going to be working on. And we kind of expect that wherever we build the path, there will be some stuff on this side. So maybe we would do like the path like this-ish distance from that, and leaving some room for little bits of expansion in that direction. So this one connected to like a slightly open area. Maybe this one can do something similar, but not exactly the same. Maybe something a little funky like that. We can adjust it over time too. Alright. And from here, this continues out. Cool. So that's kind of a start. Gets a little bit close right here, but we'll leave it and we'll just kind of avoid building too much, too many buildings, so that it like the visual separation still is maintained. And over here we have a lot more freedom. Cool. Now it's hard to identify if there's anything that this neighborhood has as a vibe. Like there's absolutely, building patterns. Hello, happy Sunday. There's absolutely building patterns that I kind of followed myself in this neighborhood. And if I can kind of understand them, maybe I can do different things. Like one is, a lot of these aren't like big like 4x4 type houses. They're kind of narrow narrow and multicolored, which I think looks good, but maybe like this neighborhood could be different. Maybe this neighborhood could be like big blobs of houses or like geometric. That'd be kind of neat. And maybe like rather than have, maybe it's like sectional in color too. I don't know. Maybe all the houses in like one little section are the same color and then it switches to a different color just to mix it up. It could be a thing. I don't have to like do the logically opposite thing for every single choice, but just something to change up the rhythm. Okay, so let's pick a geometric shape. I might choose to leave a light well at some point by like going in and deleting middle things, but we could start off with the shape and then go from there. Yeah, big and rectangular. That tells you this is different. Ooh, wow. See, you find out different things when you experiment. I have never built a building like this before where I've done, a large rectangle and then carved out the interior. So I never saw that the game actually has handling for that. Yeah, like inner courtyard. I didn't know that was a thing that I had at my availability. So that's another good reason to experiment. Well, now that we know we have that, let's make this bigger. Cool. This almost feels like it's leaning towards being hexagonal or pentagonal. Is that a thing we can make happen? I don't know how. Yeah, we need like one of these tiles to give us the curve. Well, that's not quite the pentagon I was looking for. But it is, geometric-ish. I told myself I was going to leave visual separation between the neighborhoods. Look what I've gone and done. I mean, that's still a pretty good amount of water. That's fine. There's something about this I don't like. Okay, let's see if we can adjust it with the second floor, second story. So if you, yeah, so if you like create something that is not just a one width layer, then it gives you the about the flooring. Otherwise, it's a roof. So if we do something like this, yeah, it looks a little more balanced. I like it too. All right, I want it to be multi-story, but I also kind of want it to have like a balcony somewhere. Let's see how this works. Let's keep it all white. This is like a planned development. Oh no, the corporations are coming in with their apartment buildings. Our pastoral city is ruined. Well, that's the real world. Why can't it be the game? Okay. Second story, sure. Balcony? What if I did... That doesn't make a balcony. That would. Perimeter walk. That's kind of cool. Yeah, underground parking with this water table might not work. Oh yeah. This is it. And an elevator all the way up to the top. You know, one of the benefits of... I don't want to say corporate built buildings because that's not... I'll undercut the point. Is, you know, this will be more accessible than the old town hodgepodge. But it's not because corporations are making it. It's because, you know, laws were created to require that corporate built structures adhere to guidelines and requirements. So that's what's going on here. There's going to be an elevator to go up top, and this is an accessible rooftop. All right. That's cool. I like that building. What if we did another funky geometric thing like an L shape? It can be that color. That looks more like a snake than geometry. It's a little better. Cool. And so maybe wait, people need a pathway. Something like that. All right, now let's bring the heat. I said I was going to keep separation between my neighborhoods. What's wrong with me? Okay, that's one story. What on earth is going on in here? That's... I don't like that. Even that seems silly. Huh. I think I'd rather do something like that and leave it like connected water. Alright, that's decent. These poor people are having their view taken. Well, them's the breaks. You thought you were buying a luxury apartment with a view, and then the view gets taken away by a big corporate monstrosity. See, before I was thinking this city was modeled after Venice, Italy. But no, I meant Venice Beach. This is America, baby. We sell you a lie. All right. I do wish there was like a little bit more room here. But all right, maybe what I could do is just expand it in the other direction and fix the path. That'll work. Let's give it some width here. This is a bizarre shape. This is like a decent amount of room. Okay, that's perfect. That's the amount of room that I want. I like how this has a door with a ladder coming up to it. As if anyone's gonna like go in or out of that. Yeah, okay. Let's move the path. And we'll bring this right to the path. And then we'll actually create gap here. Okay. What a weird shape. Okay, this jagged edge actually kind of works to give everyone a little bit of a window. And it still gives a very geometric feel, even though it's not perfect like angles. Okay. I kind of like this like patio area. All right. That's good. That's good. I don't know why. I guess I'll have it on this side too. Not there. Here. And here. Maybe here? But not connected? Maybe connected? I don't know. Alright, well, we'll see what we're going to do when we make this more stories. This is so weird. I like it. I can't imagine what the layout of the rooms are like, but that ain't my problem. Yeah, if we just do something like this, then we got something like that. Maybe up here? Yep. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and it does immediately look different than the other hood. I do have some buildings in here that are like this one is all one color and ish, and one kind of shape-ish, but still, it doesn't register if you zoom far enough out as much as these do because they're large and weird shapes and all one color. So that's cool. I like the I think this theme for this neighborhood is working. Okay, so yeah, this might not even be enough water to really separate it, but that's okay. This is probably like the minimum I can go. Because if I zoom out to the fullest extent and imagine like these things sprawling out, then like the distinction will start to disappear. But this is probably like the minimum amount of space I need to really at least try and sell it as a neighborhood. But they can have multiple points of connection. I think that's probably a good idea. So let's like plan for that. So this one is probably going to meet back up with this somewhere. The question is, how do we want to do that? I'm thinking over here to give it some breathing room, rather than like trying to extend a path this from here. Let's take a look at what's going on in this thing. Okay, it does feel like coming out from there would work, but the other side also maybe. All right, let's bring you over and see how it develops. So these angles are not lining up nicely. Alright, so this path follows around like this. Nah. I think what needs to happen is it kind of needs to go, like, feel like almost like a bridge. Well, this one is a bit winding that I made. But it connects to, like, an open square. Even when I fill this in, there'll still be some room. So I think it needs to have, like, something open to connect to feel like, it's like a bridge, even though it doesn't look like one. So maybe we, like, fill this in a bit and then see if we can create a connection from somewhere here. Something like that, but not that narrow here. We just got to fix this a little bit. That's not bad, and we can iron out. Alright, something like this. We could even build some housing here. This little spot. But that works pretty well. Okay, so let's expand our new hood. Alright, maybe this one can straddle the bridge as like a something. Let's pick purple. The sound effects are pleasing. There we go. We seem to be creating this fan shape a lot, but I dig it. Alright, those are nice features. Alright, now what do we do for you? A mix of these? That's kind of weird. Maybe totally surrounded? Maybe? That could work. There we go. Purple monstrosity. That is neat. I don't know if there's enough room for a wheelchair to get through. Oh well, we'll just assume there is. Saying totally to scale, but if this door can fit a wheelchair, this gap looks roughly the width of the door. So, sure. Oh my god, it's huge. Alright, so now this neighborhood is definitely starting to take its own unique look with that 3 singularly colored buildings that are, you know, a bit more structured, let's say. Even though this middle one looks a little more chaotic than the other two. I could fix that if I wanted to, like... See, there are no windows on the interior here. Which means, what's the benefit of this fragmented roof? You know, there's no windows that are going to be looking inward. No light to be gathered. There's really no benefit. Other than the look of the building. Was it this one? So if I do something like this, I can maybe still keep the gap on one side. That probably works better. Let's take a look. Let's play with this a little bit. So yeah, there's no benefit here. But we could do something like that. So that these windows, I don't know, have less things occluding the light. Sure. It also creates a bit more of a thing. Roof deck. I actually don't like that all of these have huge roof decks. I think a little bit is kind of nice, but if the whole top layer of the neighborhood is roof deck, that pathway look kind of blends in with the paths, that tiled look. Whereas we want the shingles to give it, you know, kind of a visual distinction between walkway and building top. But we do want a little bit of a roof deck for people to enjoy. Nah, I don't really like this. Oh. It's a bit more regular, but this one is also 1 tile wider. So that totally gets rid of the roof deck, but if I build it here, it'll connect it again. That's too much. I think that might be perfect. Yeah. That works. Doesn't look quite as goofy as before. Nah, there's really nothing to do there. Nah. So in this case, we just keep this part, which I kind of like. So we're creating a light well in here, so these can be separate apartments and rooms. Nah. Let's give him the roof deck to look in different directions. And we could mix this one up, though. Oh, wow. Like a gate and arch was created inside there. That's cool. No, don't really see a good way to do this. I wonder where it decides, because this is just because it's a continuous one width path. That's probably why. So it's this one that's making everything happen. Probably that one too. I don't want to create separation in the interior. I took enough of their space as it is with this one. But if I wanted to, what I could do is just... something like that. Yeah. That's pretty good. I might even go one level higher. Now, pole right in the middle of the courtyard? No thanks. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now, whoever bought this property is going to be furious. Them's the breaks, kiddo. Them's the breaks. It's tall. It's the now the tallest white building, but it's still not really close enough and tall enough as that one to really steal its thunder. So it's okay. Fantastic. One second here, let me reply to a couple messages. Okay, so we got 3 new style buildings in a new neighborhood. The walkway's a little funky, but that's okay. Especially this part of it. Like, I could potentially just connect these two directly and then create like its own walkway for the building. Let's see. Let's see if I can make that work. Now let's fix this. So do we want a walkway along the whole thing? What is this thing? That's better. Still a little weird. Because, like, you know, there's so much water all around. There's really no benefit to, like, keeping it here. So you walk around here, you walk here, you walk here. Unless you really want to go by these buildings, you can just keep this way. I could fill this in. That's kind of cool. It's a silly looking feature though. What if I filled the whole thing in? Yeah, it's some of the some of these are hard to figure how it'll logistically work. Like this giant building has these entrances, but they look like doors to individual units, but they can't be because they're gonna have to be like at least one of them is gonna have to be like a main entrance to come through to gain access. Which kind of works for a building like that looks like this, whereas this one looks like a bit more individual units directly off the main path. So this is a huge square we could work with. We could do something with it. We could trim it down. Yeah, but it creates an awkward shape. And yeah, this will work with when we build more stuff. Yeah, maybe this problem can solve itself when I build other buildings here. So I might want to kind of not do this. Maybe the path does turn and then continues this way. It's a bit of an awkward shape. All right, we got to keep this one. So let's keep that. Awkward shapes everywhere. It's kind of the least awkward shape. Which means we could do something like this. But yeah, what's the point? Like what does that do for us? Something like that actually works a little bit better, though it looks stupid inside. Okay, maybe we can carve the path somehow more. Okay, I can live with this. A little bit of a courtyard. This one too, because this goes to the bridge, so you need room to come out. All right, that'll work, and then we could build something over here. Which means I might expand the courtyard again, I don't know. Cool. Progress. I think that's what we'll call it a stream. And we'll continue with the fun some other time. Probably back to Baldur's Gate next time I stream. But when I want to drink some coffee, do something like this or Wingspan or both. All right, take care. See ya.